and we'll do the roll call. Also, our staff is is on site at home, so she will be monitoring from her place. But actually, they're calling me in. I didn't get a chance to see what it was. So as first the roll call, I'll be calling the roll call. I hope that Cynthia is ready. So Don Gilmore, absent. Say, here. Francis Robinson. Beverly Scott. Tabor. Jorge. Okay. And then that's the feedback. And Andy here. We don't have a form, we need one more. We have a form that we will proceed on with our business for tonight. Approval of the agenda, we cannot approve it as yet, but we can look over it. I hope everyone has been good for them. And once we get a form, we'll come back to decide. Public comment at this time. We have any public comment? Yes. Hi. Good evening. Good evening. Now, one of the things that I was told that the monitor, it actually follows the voice, but if you could speak loud enough, and if you have to have any presentation, you're more than welcome to come to the table here, so everyone can hear your beautiful voice, okay? All right. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for, I'm a North Richmond resident. I also work at the North Richmond Farm, so I wanted to thank everyone who came out for, we did an event on eagle culture, and we also did a screen, a film screen called Farming While Black. So this is last month, so I wanted to thank everyone who came out to that, including the artists and the small businesses and those who came to the forces, JCB, Ms. Jean and Michael came out for it. So we just had a great time, and just want to say thank you for coming out to take this. Thank you. Are there any others? And speaking for one more, would you need my laptop along with?
No, she has an option.
She has a laptop. Yeah.
Tanya, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, just making sure that you're following along. So can you hear Annie talking?
Yeah, I could hear. It's a little low, but I could hear. And I would recommend, like, if people have public comment, to go to the little stand just so that we could hear people a little bit better. Because I think the closer you are to the camera, the better quality, the better we can hear you.
Very good. Okay, so will you be monitoring and seeing the hand raised in order to be able to open up for the public comments that are on Zoom? Because I can control here, but you'll be controlling on Zoom?
Yes, I can call on people who raise their hands for public comment.
Okay, very good. So this is where we're at right now, the public comments, okay? So let's go for your side for Zoom, and then I'll entertain for here within the center. So you go first.
I'm not seeing any raised hands at the moment, so I think we can move to the public.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comments? Yes.
Yes, I do know.
Thank you.
Jesus. I just have one public comment, in particular to the apartment complex located on Silver and Fred Jackson Way, in regard to people who have wrought iron fence, like the fence that surrounds this property, that have no shielding to prevent the dog from sticking their head to, being able to bite someone, because right there on the corner of Silver and Fred Jackson Way. The reason why I walk with a club, because these dogs can stick their head through the wrought iron fence, there's no protective shielding. And that one's down there almost big. So is there some type of ordinance that's out here in regards to putting protective shield? Because my neighbor has a dog, she has a rod, and she has a protective shield on her fence, so her dog can stick their face through the wrought iron fence, because these wrought iron fences, the dog can easily put their head through it and bite from it. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is not only is it protecting the person that be walking by, it also protects the property owner from a potential civil.
Right.
So that's my concern.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah. And of course, animals, I mean, I have dogs, I love my dogs, everybody knows their dogs, but yeah, that's a concern for me, because when I was walking down the street just 2 weeks ago, in the same residence, I was walking my little niece, and you know, kids, I had to put them on the outside to protect them from the fence, but you're supposed to walk the kids on the inside, and you standing closer to the street, so that's on my own side.
I thank you so very much. I'm gonna comment on that. One of the things that, it could be potentially, they moved in without a pet before, having the pet to be in the yard, you know, so therefore they can make that decision of having that guard there. But I think that's something that our code enforcement would look at. And I understand your concerns, my, granddaughter, years ago, she was walking her, brother, which is my grandson, food, and, a dog right on the verge came out and got his head stuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I totally understand. So that's something code enforcement.
Okay.
We'll look at it, we'll talk to the sheriff, you know, and we'll talk to Tanya. And Tanya, if you could put in the chat, and I guess, we'll be able to see code enforcement Jose's number, so we can check in, for, seeing if that's a violation, which it is, okay?
Okay.
Okay, very good. So, right, yes, it's an unincorporated. Okay, yes.
So that is it for apartment complex or private residence?
That's anything, anybody, yeah, anybody that any type of dog or whatever, you know, they should be enforced, you know, so when, you know, there's gonna be a nuisance for the public. So that would be our code enforcement for an unincorporated area, which is okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Tanya, we good, we're gonna move on. So how about our, law enforcement agency?
Sheriff's Office is present.
Good evening. You're on.
Good evening. Sorry I couldn't make it this evening.
Yes, we missed you.
Unfortunately, I had to come to the other side of the hill. So to start, looks like things have been, and from the law enforcement standpoint, it's been pretty uneventful, meaning that things have been down. And looking at the reports for the month of February, we only had one reported commercial burglary, and looks like one sex assault case for the month of February. That's about it. But as far as illegal dumping, that obviously continues to occur. I don't want to say it's down, but we're slowly investigating each incident as it comes. I'm sorry?
She has a question for you, as far as the staffing.
Okay, I'm having a hard time hearing her.
Good evening. Did we get new staff in our area, in the North Richmond area?
I'm sorry, the what?
Did we get new staff in the North Richmond area?
For the traffic portion of it?
For a few meetings now, it had been said, you had been saying that we were going to get new staff
And that might help with some of the things that have been unaddressed, some of the issues that have been unaddressed.
No, we haven't gotten any new staffing. We are in a new training program, yes. But as far as new staffing, it just takes time to get deputies, basically what we call basically patrol qualified.
Hmm. We do have one, I got news from Lieutenant Rodriguez that we do have a new lieutenant for base station, which includes North Richmond. And so our point now is Lieutenant Terrell. That's the only information I have of any
That's correct.
new staff.
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, yeah, Lieutenant Rodriguez actually was promoted to captain, and he's actually moved on to a new assignment. So.
Okay, so clarification, we want to reiterate the name that you just said of the new individual that is at the base station, and the other, to piggyback on what Letitia was saying, when you had spoke about having other individuals to come into the unincorporated areas, one share, where are they with their training? Are they 3 months in? Are they 6 months in? Are they, 10 months in? Could we next year or the end of this year? I think this is what she's asking. That's what she was asking.
Okay, so the earliest we're looking at, as far as in the training program, we're looking at least a minimum of another 7 to 8 weeks out before they come off of training.
That's what she's asking. I think that's what she's asking. And the other one, sir, if you could repeat the name of the new lieutenant, I guess the lieutenant is at the base station now.
So he's going to be Lieutenant Terrell. Is spelled Terrill. I could actually forward his information on to Tanya as well. But he's going to be the temporary interim lieutenant until we are confirmed on who the new lieutenant is for our station house.
Very good. Appreciate it. Anyone else have questions for our sheriff? Not at this time. Thank you so very much for coming out.
Thank you. All right. You folks have a great evening.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, so do we have anyone else from law enforcement? Do we have Richmond PD, anyone time?
I don't see anyone that I recognize from Richmond or CHP.
Okay, and no one from Highway Patrol. Okay, very good. Well, thank you, ma'am. We're gonna keep it moving. Okay. Item 5 for discussion or action. Cincy truck. Are they there? Are they here, or are they on for the leasing? For the presentation or discussion? How are we gonna do this? Are anyone here?
Yes. Yeah, my name's Chris Verco. I'm with Barkhausen Consulting Engineers, and we are consultants for Penske. Also online is Paul Hurley, and he is with Penske. So we are here to answer any questions you might have. But the proposal is very simple. Penske is just simply looking to occupy the site with a maintenance facility for its vehicles. And so essentially vehicles would be brought to the site and stored temporarily and then repaired and then returned back to Penske. But there's no leasing operation or any sort of retail or operation occurring here. It's just simply a repair facility. So if there are any questions, we're not proposing to make any changes to the site or anything like that. It's just simply a change of use at this location. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you. Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, we go out.
You can now? Did you hear anything I just said?
You asked for if there were any questions, so one of our members, council members, is asking about the uses and what is the changes? What is the changes that has been made?
Or what is the reason for the change in the use?
Oh, it's because Penske is just seeking to occupy the property and use the property. Penske wasn't there beforehand.
So it's to allow trucks in a light industrial.
Correct. So trucks and cars would be brought to the site and they would be serviced and repaired at this location.
But currently trucks are not allowed on that side.
I don't know if that's the case, but this use is allowed in the zone, subject to, I think, the land use permit approval.
There's one hand raised in Zoom. Johanna?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. This is a question for the consultant, or anyone that has the answer. I just had a question around the zoning. Like, I know you mentioned that it's allowed, but is this like a heavy industry that's going to be coming in because it's now going to be repairing like diesel vehicles? Like, is that permitted in the zone where you're currently requesting this project to be?
Yeah, so the zoning of the property is light industry, and so automotive land uses are allowed in the light industry designation, and they require the approval of a land use permit. And offices are considered an administrative review, and so that is the process we're currently going through with the county. There will be a public hearing for this at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Two questions. This is the first I'm hearing about, so one question is, where's the current location at currently?
You mean where the vehicle is being repaired currently? Is that your question?
So the proposed site, where is the proposed site out here that you're going to be repairing the trucks? On Park? Okay, well, my second question is, if approved, can you guarantee these trucks will not be coming through residential street? Because I already have an issue with these 18-wheelers coming through residential street. My concern is that these trucks for repairs will not be taking shortcuts through the neighborhood to get to the location.
You know, the Representative Paul Early is on the call, and he may be able to speak for Penske on this, but I think that, yeah, I think the trucks would use normal truck routes, you know, and would not have a need to go through residential neighborhoods in general. But Paul, you may have more information about where the trucks are coming from.
Okay.
Yeah, Luke, maybe you could answer. How are primarily these trucks accessing the site?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have control over where exactly our customers are located, but I will say this, to get to this site, you primarily go through industrial, or I mean, 100% of the way you go through industrial area. You take Richmond Parkway to Park Boulevard, and at no point do you pass through a residential neighborhood to get through this site. Now, if one of our customers is located in a residential neighborhood, which to my knowledge, none of them are, there's, you know, that's out of our control, but there's no reason, you know, adding this site would create additional traffic through residential neighborhoods.
My question still was not answered. Let me reiterate. My question is, one, when you say your customers, you're stating that this is going to be a repair site for your vehicle. So your customers would not be driving the trucks if they're going to be repaired. Two, is there some type of guarantee that for these trucks that's going to be repaired, that they're going to take the initial truck route? Because we all know here in the neighborhood that because of the truck route doesn't mean people take it. People take shortcuts to avoid traffic. And my concern is we already have many diesel trucks coming through residential areas in the community, taking shortcuts to get to local business outside of the residential area.
I would like to.
Yeah, well, I guess to answer your first question, Penske will not be taking these trucks into residential neighborhoods. And then, sorry, can you say the second question again?
Yeah, the second question was that you were saying that the truck routes will be abided by. Is there any way that you can guarantee that? Because I'm assuming that, I don't know how it works, but if you're taking your truck there, if this is gonna be a location for truck repairs, then I'm assuming that whomever is transporting these trucks actually works for the company of Penske. These are not gonna be just normal residents taking these trucks in for repairs, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's all commercial businesses taking the trucks in for repairs.
Okay, so these commercial entities that will be traveling with the truck, I'm assuming that they will abide by the truck route and not take shortcuts like a lot of these diesel trucks take during peak hours to avoid traffic.
Yeah, and I would add that if the county staff were to add a condition of approval to the application that the truck shall use approved truck routes, the Penske would not disagree with that.
Okay, I just wanted to chime in to your first time coming to the MAC with this. It was last year. I think it was last year. Is that correct? And we talked about your presentation, and we talked about one of the things that Mr. Crane brought up about the trucks and their repairs that would be at that facility. And one of the things that was assured to us as we had this discussion was that the trucks will be coming off the parkway into that facility. And again, as you just mentioned, they don't have any reason to come through the residential because the way it's set up, they'll be coming off the parkway, off the freeway, going into that site, into that facility. The other thing is that once you're up and operated, I think we'll be monitoring the ins and outs at this time. It's a more or less just make sure that everyone is compliant for what has been presented to the community at this time. So those things have been discussed about not having trucks to come into the community and to monitor and see which way they're going in and out. So are you all familiar with that? Seems like you are from what you just answered for the individuals that will be serving the trucks, they will be working at that facility, and they have no uses of really coming into the resident at this time. That was one of the things we talked about. Are you all remembering that when it was brought to the MAC? Hello?
Yeah, sorry. I think we're having a hard time hearing. We heard most of what you said, but I'm really sorry. We had a hard time.
Okay, let me ask you this. When you first came to the MAC, was it last year? Could you give me an idea?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I wasn't involved with the project at the time. Paul, Luke, do you guys remember when the last meeting was for this?
Was it last year, around what, last 6 months ago, or whatever, right? Hello?
Yeah. Paul, do you remember, did Penske attend a meeting here about a year ago?
Yeah.
I didn't. Luke, do you remember?
No, I do not believe I believe this is our first meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so we should have a more in-depth conversation at this time here, since you first, so excuse me for saying that you were here 6 months ago. So this is the first time you're coming to the MAC, from my understanding, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so therefore we should have a little bit more discussion at this point by taking in the concerns of our residents, speaking of the uses of the trucks that will be serviced at that facility and their route of coming in to be served, correct?
Correct.
Right. So to make sure that one of the concerns is that we are very concerned and we do not want any additional traffic of large trucks to come to the community. That was one of the main issues that we talked about for any trucker to come in the facility around the area of the residents. We wanted them to stay at bay and not come through the community because we have individuals that are coming through the community, these large trucks. They're taking shortcuts. And when he was asking, we do not want these shortcuts to be taken. We don't want to be infringed upon having other trucks coming in, being lost, trying to find the facility. So what we are asking, since this is your first time, if you could give us a little bit more reassurance about your facility at this point, so we'll be more comfortable hearing what you have to offer. Okay?
Yeah, understood. I think Paul or Luke, I mean, maybe you guys can speak to that a little bit in terms of what Penske can do to make sure the trucks are avoiding these neighborhoods.
Okay, so I know what we did, and then I guess it's just me just hearing how this presentation or this discussion went. It jumped from you alluding to that it may be, I guess, some changes when Lucy asked you about, and she has to change it, and then we jump from there directly into, are there any questions? But we have yet to hear more information about you all. Okay, so if you can give us a little bit more feedback, if anybody, for us to get a better understanding about, about your facility and about what you do, we would appreciate it. Okay?
Sure. So you'd like us to maybe provide a little bit more explanation about the operation?
Yes, if you will, about
sure.
The operation, and, a little bit
sure.
more. Yes, please.
Happy to. Apologize if we weren't, sort of clear or complete enough to begin with. We certainly do want to give you as much information as we can, and I know that Penske would be, wanting to be a good neighbor with regard to keeping trucks out of neighborhoods. Totally understand that comment. So in regards to the way the operation works, so it would be open from about 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. And there'll be about 15 employees on the site at any given time. Roughly up to about 75 trucks could be stored on the site at any time, but they would service about 30 trucks per day. And there are a couple of buildings on the site. One is about a 10,600 square foot maintenance and storage building. That would be the building where the maintenance would occur. There's also an 800 square foot office building that would be used. Trying to think what other information I can give you about the operation. That's kind of it in a nutshell. It's I think in some ways straightforward in the sense that it is just simply a repair facility. So, like I said, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have in case I'm missing anything here.
Okay, now hold on, Chris. I got 2 questions here on site, and we might have someone on Zoom. So we have 3. So let's start with the people, and then So Chris, here goes the first question.
Good evening. Where are you currently located?
Paul, Luke, do you guys want to answer that?
Luke, what's our next nearest location?
Our next nearest location is in San Leandro at on Biggie Street in San Leandro. We were up until a couple years ago, we were at 1170 Hensley Street, and we had been there for about 20 years up until that lease expired. But since then, we've had to kind of relocate to San Leandro while we've been in search of a facility.
Hey, who is your client base?
Any type of customer or any type of company that uses trucks. So we maintain fleets.
Okay, and are you all following the zero emissions model?
Yes, absolutely. Penske's a leader in the zero emissions regulations. We have a partnership with CARB in order to stay compliant and to work with them on developing new technology.
Yeah, I think you might be referring to the zero emissions conditions of approval that are usually put on projects. Is that what your question's about?
Yeah, and I believe the state is moving that way, right?
Right. And so, yeah, some of these conditions that the way they're written, they really aren't applicable to a facility like this. And we kind of detail our responses in our application that the county is currently reviewing. But really what it applies to is when you have, when it's kind of like a leasing operation, or when you have vehicles that are parked there for more than 70% of the calendar year, which is just not the case here. These vehicles turn around quickly. And so these kind of conditions relative to the zero emissions conditions that the county has don't appear to be applicable to us. But notwithstanding, yeah, I think Luke's comment is noted with regard to Penske overall.
Okay, and my last question is, how did you choose this particular site? And I should preface it by, we already have this area is we're in the 90th percentile. Our Cal Environment score is in the 90th percentile, and a lot of we have the Richmond Parkway there. But I wanted to ask you, how did you choose this particular location? I heard that you were on Hensley. How did you choose this location?
Paul Hurley with Penske. We'd been looking, as Luke said, we've been looking at for a number of years for a location. It is not that easy to find space, and the owner of the property happened to have the space up for lease at the right time. We didn't select it in particular because of the exact location. It was more a subject of availability and a property that that was in a more the right kind of area, an industrial area.
Hello, good evening. Can you all hear me okay on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, MAC members. And my question to the consultants is, what types of emissions or waste do you expect to come out of this facility? And this is more of a comment than anything. It would have been great if you could have brought a presentation for us this evening. I think that I'm speaking as my experience as a San Pablo Planning Commissioner, that whenever any sort of entity or company comes before a board like this, it's great to have a presentation. So it would have been great to have some of this information presented to us tonight in some kind of presentation, so that we could, as the public and as well as our MAC members, could have had this information more readily available and just easier for us to see what the plans for this site are. So yeah, that's my question for you tonight, is what kind of emissions or sort of waste products do you expect to come out of this vehicle repair facility? Thank you.
Yeah, I will start off with, I'll speak to some of the emissions, but I think, you know, in terms of the waste product, Paul and Luke, if you guys could maybe speak to some of that stuff. But with regard to like emissions, the trucks that operate are going to be subject to, you know, the state's requirements, CARB's requirements, which, you know, CARB is the most restrictive agency in the United States by far when it comes to, you know, vehicle emissions and those types of standards. And then the BAA does have permitting requirements for certain types of businesses as well. So it's a heavily regulated aspect from an air quality point of view in terms of vehicles and emissions. Lucas and Paul, I guess maybe you could speak to some of the other sort of materials that are used on the site and waste products that are generated.
Yeah, so for hazardous waste, it's the main product, you know, we will have at the facility, or we will kind of create at the facility, is used oil, and then also used coolant. So when we change the oil or change the coolant on a vehicle, then we have, you know, waste coolant, and we have a company, Safety Clean, who comes and picks that up from us. All storage of that hazardous waste is monitored by Coupa, and Penske has guidelines that and policies that go above and, you know, beyond what the Coupa regulations are. And we also, I don't know how it was when we were on Hensley, but I know at all of our other locations throughout the Bay Area, we have at least two visits a year from a Coupa inspector, where they come and, you know, review that we're following all, you know, hazardous waste protocols.
We have another question for you.
Okay, so I hope you understand me. To me, it's just as simple as this. This is a place where the environmental is very affected. And on the last year, we have seen a bloom of heavy trucks going by here. And at this point, we all know that this is getting really bad. It was bad before you came here, and which is the point of having more trucks or heavy equipment near us. I mean, I think it's gonna make just the environmental or air more polluted. So that's my concern at the moment. Thank you.
We have a couple more comments, questions, and then we're gonna move on. Go ahead. Yes. So,
hi. My question is, what are the community benefits for this? In addition to that, does that include local hire? And if so, would that be negotiated directly with the county in a contract, saying that it would benefit North Richmond in particular? But yeah, I'd like to hear what are the benefits for the community here, since it is going to happen local. And in addition to that as well, just want to piggyback on the other comment made, is that this is a huge project. It would have been nice for you guys to be here in person and present. I know that you guys provided some very useful information in the packet that we received, but it's not the same as being able to project that and answer questions on the spot from us. Thank you.
I'll start, and then Lucas, maybe you can chime in terms of the employees that you would have at the facility. But the benefits of the project are to employ people and to provide benefits to the county's tax base, as well as the facility repairs vehicles. So repairs vehicles that are maybe not working properly, that are maybe have damaged equipment or leaking oil, or might be having a bad muffler or something like that. And this is a facility that actually will fix these vehicles and make them more operable and better. And so there is sort of a process here where these vehicles are actually getting improved. I don't know, Lucas, if you have anything to add in regards to the employment of employees at this facility?
Nothing really to add. There would be our district at Penske in the Bay Area supports two labor agreements, one with the Teamsters and then the machinists, which would both be present at this shop, which is, I think a benefit for the community and for our members. But that's I guess the only other added benefit I can think of is going back to the emissions technology. As I said, Penske's a leader in maintaining zero emissions vehicles. So, for example, Harbor Distributing, who is a beer distributor located on Richmond Parkway, just right down the street from this site that we're looking to move into, they just purchased 10 electric semi trucks, and those electric semi trucks is very new technology, and most companies that do what we do and maintain fleets haven't experienced how to maintain electric tractors. So Penske's kind of a leader in that, and those will be coming on the contract with us. So, other fleets in the Richmond area, I could see definitely as we continue towards electrification, bringing in more electric vehicles to their fleets, just because, Penske would be there to maintain them.
We lost you for a moment. It went blank for a moment. So probably you can repeat the last two sentences. We had some service of the monitor going out. So we really didn't hear your last few statements.
The computer, I don't know if you heard, but if you can repeat the last two sentences.
The two sentences. Did you hear the part on the electric vehicles?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I was just saying, Penske's a leader in electric vehicle technology and zero emission technology. So, another benefit to the community, I think, would be that a big problem right now with companies trying to electrify their fleets is they don't know how to maintain them, because they're brand new, technology that we've really never seen before with heavy duty and medium duty vehicles. So Penske being able to maintain them might encourage companies to electrify, because Penske's there or could be there in Richmond to maintain those vehicles.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to say that so North Richmond has been working for the last 5 years to change the general plan and the zoning around North Richmond and the residential zone, so that there aren't as many trucking or truck companies coming into North Richmond. It is really important for us to not continue to foster those kinds of businesses. I would be interested in knowing and understanding what are the options B and C for other sites, because North Richmond is no longer a site where we want trucks or heavy industry, which is why in the general plan, we are moving away from that. I also want to know, when is the public hearing date? My understanding is that this application is still in review. It's going through the County Public Works Department. And so it is not a done deal. There is still opportunity for the community to oppose. The other reason why we now make sure that applications go before review to this council and not just the county planning commission is because oftentimes the planning commission didn't know what North Richmond residents and community wanted. And so it would bypass North Richmond residents, go straight to the county would approve it. So we have all these businesses that greatly affects our health in negative ways. And so it's really important that when you all come to the MAC meeting, that you're giving us the best information, because we will then go to the Planning Commission and we will give our vote as to what we think about Penske and other businesses as well. So to summarize, I want to know what other options you guys are looking at in terms of locations. When is the next public hearing? And also to consider, as my colleague said, not likely to support this unless there are benefits to the community in terms of a community benefits agreement that can be negotiated with the county.
The public hearing has not yet been scheduled, and I don't really have an idea of when that will be. I think it might be within the next couple of months, but we haven't gotten anything official out of county staff in that regard. As it relates to the questions around options B and C, I don't know if Lucas or Paul, you guys have an answer for that?
I mean, we are driven a little bit by geography. We are trying to, as I said before, we've been looking for quite some time to find a location. At this point, we don't have other alternatives. Certainly not readily available. It just, like I said, we're trying to be available to our customers in our customers in that area. There's no other site that we're aware of at this point that would work for us.
Yeah. So with that, I guess you'll be the one I'm speaking to, or whoever that I'm bringing this forth. We would like for you all to come back and have a physically be on site here in front of the council and in front of the residents, so we have a much clearer visual and could you maybe some other questions, because this is the primary. This is just the preliminary. I would like to have you to come back for further discussion. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So can we do that? Because
y'all gotta get on that side. Man.
Well,
okay, so for our staff, Tanya would usually get with Tanya, and we reschedule and have you all come back, because there's still a lot more questions, but we still have a lead on our agenda. But we would like to have this in a very robust, conversation. For now, we kind of had it in what you all are about. So we would like to have you to come back again. Okay? In agreement? Hello?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you for coming, and thank you for being on Zoom. But the next round, we'd like you to be in person. Thank you so very much. Okay, next on the agenda. You got the agenda for you. Okay, fine. Sorry about that, Joe. Okay. All right, let's keep it moving. Okay, so our next one on the agenda is a presentation and proclamation. 15 minutes, 15 minutes goes 1 hour, so we're not going to be here at all. But we have a presentation from ATC grant application by Public Works. You got the floor. Well, you got the page.
Tanya, if you can share that.
So they can hear you, so they can see you, okay? Thank you. Okay, Tanya, they get ready. They start. Introduce yourself.
Okay, do they want me to share the presentation?
You can, please.
Yes, I can.
2, 3 of us never been here before.
Oh, right.
I want to keep that.
Okay. Here's.
With both Work Department, we are here today presents the active transportation program. It's a grant program that may or may not have been familiar with. So some of this information might be. Next slide, please. Next slide is introduction. So I'll introduce myself, Joseph Bonnet, with transportation here in the city. I'm with the Associate Civil Engineers Division, and I have my staff here for introduce themselves as well.
I'm Brian Hood, I'm also a civil engineer.
Okay.
And I'm Justin. I am also a staff engineer with the transportation or public works.
Thank you, Jeff.
The contact information is on slide 2. So.
The next slide.
Can you hear me, Tanya? I think you all gonna have to amplify, you're gonna have to get a little bit louder.
Yeah, and my apologies because my computer was having a hard time for some reason, or is with those slides. So I'm gonna try something different. So I'm troubleshooting here. My apologies.
Maybe I'm gonna try to move it. Oh, that's as far as it goes.
Oh. Let's move it right there then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, am I on the right slide now?
Yeah, yes. So actually, can you go back to number 27 on the PDF?
Yes.
No. So introductions, contact information is available. Part of this presentation is going to be requesting feedback. Does not have to happen at this meeting. Our phone numbers and email addresses are there for you guys. So in the future, if you need to contact us. Next slide, please. For the agenda, introduction to the Active Transportation Program, I'll probably refer to it as ATP going forward. The proposed grant application submittal for 2 projects. Next steps for the application, and then feedback and Q&A. Next slide, please. So the Active Transportation Program, not to bore you guys with all the details, essentially, it's sort of summarized in that top graphic there. We're looking at expanding the active transportation network in the North Richmond area. Specifically by creating bikeways, pedestrian infrastructure, essentially to anything that's non-motorized activity. And then that's basically for everybody and all users. So like ADA compliance, facilities, like I said, for bicycles, even scooters, students. Again, it's all safety focused as the primary. And then of course that just comes with the reduction in greenhouse gases, which I think I've heard from everybody at the last presentation. Is a concern. And then, of course, just enhancing the public health through that active transportation. It's a grant that's administered by Caltrans, and it is currently on cycle 7. So this is I assume we've applied every single round. This is the 7th time we're applying. And if awarded, these projects will probably be constructed in 29-30. That's a conservative estimate. So I think we could possibly push that forward. Next slide, please, Sonia. As an example project, I hope that you guys are familiar with it, is the Fred Jackson Way Complete Streets, or First Mile, Last Mile connection project. That has been completed. It was a Cycle 3 program awardee and received about $3.3 million. So we're going to be talking about projects that are going to be similar in that nature. And next slide, please, Tanya. With that, I'll pass it on to Brian.
Okay. So Public Works is resubmitting the Market Avenue sidewalk widening project, and the limits of the project are from Fred Jackson Way to 7th Street. And the bottom right-hand picture is a digital rendering of some of the proposed improvements, because the bulb outs have been constructed already, but we're still looking to widen the sidewalks. And I will describe some more of the proposed improvements in detail in the next slide. So next slide, please. So this slide shows our sidewalk widening plan. We are proposing to reduce the current lane widths, the current travel lane widths from 13 feet to 11 feet. And this would allow us to reconstruct the sidewalks to a wider width. And I wanted to also mention that this includes changing or reconstructing the existing planter strips that we have along the sidewalks into concrete sidewalks, so it's more usable to pedestrians. To strengthen our application, we are proposing curb extension improvements to the intersection of Verde Ave and Garamita Street, sorry. I also want to mention that this project would connect to the completed ATP project at Fred Jackson Way, which we showed earlier, and also connect to an ongoing safety improvement at the Market Avenue Railroad crossing. Next slide. So this is just an overview of the limits of the project. Market Avenue from Fred Jackson Way to 7th Street, and also the intersection of Verde Street and Garamita Street. Next slide. This is showing the improvements at Garamita and Market Avenue with the bulb outs and high visibility ladder crosswalks. And this is an example of improvements that we're looking to construct. And this shows the concept of bulb outs in that it makes the travel distance for people crossing the street shorter. Next slide. And then this was added since the last time we went for this grant. We decided that this would be a good place to construct curb extensions. What's nice about these are that these do not affect the existing drainage. So we don't have to do any drainage modifications because the water can flow around these islands. And just wanted to mention that what's not shown here are, we could do directional curb ramps like we did at Market Avenue, and high visibility ladder crosswalks at this location as well. Next slide. And this is a photo showing constructed curb extensions and a location in Concord. It shows how the curb extensions force drivers away from the sidewalk, and which increases safety of pedestrians, and is a traffic calming measure since it visually makes it look like the road is narrower, and it drivers react to that by slowing down. And Justin will talk about this.
Next slide, please. Thank you. So I'll be talking about our proposal for a new grant application submittal. We're planning on submitting an application for the North Richmond Bike Network project. Next slide, please. So this project will mostly be focused on the Pittsburgh Avenue, Central Street, Brookside Drive, and Fred Jackson Way. This project will focus primarily on installing new bikeways and bike infrastructure improvements. However, at the same time, we are also going to evaluate the need for pedestrian infrastructure and safety enhancements. It's important to note that these are the streets listed here are not final in any way. We are open to any discussion on increasing the scope of the project in terms of the area. And we will also be utilizing right-of-way from the existing local development projects. Next slide, please. So here are some example improvements from our active transportation plan. These images and renderings were taken from NACTO. On the upper side, you will see class 2 bike lanes. And essentially what these are separated bike lanes from the travel lanes. So the bike lanes and the cars will not be in the same occupied space. And then on the bottom here, you will see class 3 bike routes. These are more commonly known as sharrows. You might have seen these on the streets before, where the bikes and the cars will be sharing the same lane. And again, these improvements are not the only ones that we are limited to. We are open to different kinds of bikeway classes. Yeah, next slide.
Thank you, Justin. I'll take it back from here. So we have a couple snippets here of outreach and support. Sort of the focus what I want to bring to this council is this application is really only successful with the public's support. So we encourage the feedback. These are just a couple entities. I'm sure you guys are familiar with them in the area. For the Market Avenue project in particular, the school is sort of the focus of that project, but obviously it will serve the greater neighborhood as well. I mean, narrowing the lanes, will help with some of the traffic and the calming of the vehicles going through there. So we're going to be reaching out to these entities. This is just a preliminary list, just to get their support on the project, but also their feedback. Again, if they have improvements that they want to see, we're going to try to work those improvements into our grant application. Next slide, please. So for the next steps, as I was saying, community input is probably the most vital part of this application. So where you want to receive that feedback, it could be email, phone calls, meetings like this. And we're going to take that feedback and put it into those improvements. So we're still figuring out the scope of each project individually, and we're still putting together those conceptual plans. Once we have the feedback, we'll start to adapt that plan accordingly. And we want to keep the public involved every step of the way, essentially. And then for the application itself, it's actually due June 17th. So we definitely have time, I should say. But we like to get started early. Next slide, please. And with that, I just actually want to open it up to any comments at all, questions that you might have, expand the scope.
Okay, well, we'll start taking, okay, let's start with, do we have anybody on Zoom that have any questions?
I don't see any hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so we're gonna entertain here. Okay, so who was the first one? Everybody went up like popcorn. Okay. All right. So let's see if we can stand so we can hear you.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. I'd like to, you said something about right of way for existing developments. What does that mean?
So as you know, there's a lot of development in the North Richmond area. I think Center Point might be one that comes to mind. That's a little bit more recent. As part of that development, we were asking for a right of way. So we're utilizing we're going to plan around the developments and make sure that if they are proposing right of way, our plan shows that, because it's room that we can use to actually expand like the bikeways and stuff like that, versus some of the streets might be narrow at the moment.
Okay, now I saw the two streets on there, Pittsburgh, Brookside Drive, and there's been an ongoing issue of not sufficient, we don't have sufficient lighting on those streets. Would you be willing to, with this grant, include that?
We could definitely look into that, yes. Justin will be handling the bike network project specifically, so lighting is definitely a safety concern, so thank you for letting us know.
Okay, thank you.
So make a note of it.
It's recorded. It's recorded, right?
Okay, so someone else said,
the question, is there a meeting that we can attend to kind of go over our inputs on how we want to see
We don't have a formal meeting planned at the moment. However, I would say at the very minimum, we should start with just an email or phone call with our staff that's working on the projects. Definitely let us know what your questions might be, what focuses you have. And I think we could start from there. And then if another meeting is necessary, we could always come back and present again in a more formal setting like this.
Because I'm particular about how the bike lane should be, since there's not like exact which one you're gonna pick. Because I hate it when they have the bike lanes and then there's like these little like pillar things that go along. And like if you go over here, people just park in that where the bike lane's supposed to be, so it kind of defeats the setup just isn't working. And then we do have a lot of big trucks coming through market. So lowering the amount of space for a car to go down, it's already hard to get out of your car a little bit. So now you're taking more space from that, which I agree. But I'm wondering how if the truck thing's gonna be an issue because now the street's even smaller. I mean, but that's a county problem, not anybody's problem, not yours. But my other thing too is about the drains, because the drains on Market and Fred Jackson Way, leaves get stuck in it. It's not maintained. It's not done correctly. So if they're going to redo the sidewalk space, they gotta make sure that the drains are actually legit. Because every time we have rain, one of the neighbors, including myself, have to go and dig all the leaves out because the drains haven't been done correctly. And it would be nice to maintain trees on the street, but it sounds like you're going to take the existing trees and remove them. Or did I misunderstand the part?
That might have been a misunderstanding. We're going to remove just the vegetative strips. They're probably like 1 to 2 feet. But part of the project for Market is to actually add in street trees.
Okay.
I think that was actually a request at the cycle 6, so we definitely included that.
And if there are trees, who's going to be maintaining it? Because we had, in the beginning of me coming to this, I had a lot of issues with the community buildings across the street not maintaining their trees. And I have a neighbor that is always trying to cut the trees, and it doesn't look safe when they're doing it. So who's going to be maintaining those trees? Because in theory, it sounds great, but then when everything's all done and everybody disappears, I'm not trying to take care of 12 trees on Market Way. Is there a plan to maintain the benches and the trees and the sidewalks and all the drains after everything's already completed?
For the trees, the plan would be to maintain those. I mean, we don't want to just plant something, especially as part of a federally funded project, and then 2-3 years, they're just gone. So the trees will have to grow as well. So the support will definitely be there to put those on the county side to make sure that those trees are actually grow to what they need to be per the plans.
So let's add that in with the light. Maintain. For the trees. I mean, this is a good discussion, we'll go out and keep regenerating, we had this discussion. So let's add this, that was another concern. Yeah, really quickly,
if you have three priorities, if maybe that could be shared up front, just so that even, because I know that street, Market Street, largely affects.
Maintained by the community as well, maintained by the city, and
the county.
Or the county as well. So it's a little frustrating sometimes because I don't mind cleaning up in front of my house, but it starts to be a lot if there's going to be more trees, and it depends on the type of tree too. Because some trees have, I guess it also matters the type of tree. Because if you have a lot of like those little seeds that come off and all those little ones, it's hard to clean up. But the trees that are already there, their leaves are pretty decent to clean up. But I think the major concern is flooding in the drainage. So if you have the opportunity to redo the streets, it'd be nice to have drains on both corners, because there's only a drain on one side, and then on Truman there's no drain. Like the draining is kind of strange.
Okay. Yeah, I do know as part of the.
It's trapping the leaves and it's clogging it, so then the whole street just floods into your driveway. So if you're going to be messing with the sidewalks anyways, it'd be nice to have the drains. I think I said that 10 times.
It's completely
drains obviously is my point here.
Any kind of like inlets, especially that are part of the sidewalk widening, we'd have to modify them, especially if the sidewalk is coming out anyway and those lanes are being reduced. So we would take a look at the drainage inlets and their condition while we're out there. We don't like to just come in and do one thing, so.
And that condition would be under the infrastructure, the infrastructure to remodify.
Okay. We'll definitely take a look at it.
So that's infrastructure.
Yeah, I understand that the drainage here in North Richmond is challenging at times, so we certainly can look at, if we do get this grant as we're designing this improvement, look at putting in some redundancy to the system so that if our maintenance crews don't get out here in time, then there'll be a little bit of redundancy to collect that water.
And for background, Brian has been in our engineering services division and our flood control division. I have been in our flood control division, so drainage is we're not new to it. We've definitely heard similar. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
How is things gonna finalize? Because I would like a bench where I could sit down and wait for the bus, but then other people are like, no, I don't want a bench because somebody homeless can sit on it. You know, so like, how do you decide on, like, how does the vote count, or how does it tally to decide if there's a seat for the bus or you're standing there waiting for it? There's no shade from the elements. Like, is that something we vote on, or is that something that just is gonna be there or isn't gonna be there, or how does that decided?
I will say it's something that's atypical for the county bus stops. That's for sure. So I don't want to promise anything. However, we serve the community. So if the community has a strong support for something, we want to hear that. We want to get that feedback and try to incorporate it in there. But it is atypical, I'll say, for various reasons, but definitely understood.
Something on the trees. And you might be familiar with the rain gardens we have by the Richmond farm, and so that might be a solution to have the infrastructure underground for that. Maybe there is a need for a principal person to go out and like water the trees. So if you put rain gardens, that might be a solution of low maintenance and less pollution on the street. So.
Yeah, certainly. If or when we get to the design phase, we can certainly take a closer look at that.
Okay, we got some more questions. Well, two more questions, then we're gonna have to keep moving. Okay, you. Okay, well, you have to speak a little louder. You all kind of think. You know, and I'm pretty sure that it's kind of like welcome, so they can't hear. So towards the monitor and toward our presenters.
Got it.
Speak a little louder.
Got it. All right, thank you. Can you all hear me okay on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Great.
Yeah, so I have a question around, I think on the proposed versus the existing slide, you talked about trees. And another sort of point of concern for me is like more long-term, as the trees grow, they tend to the roots tend to uplift and like damage the concrete and create like mobility issues. So like more long-term, can it be incorporated into the grant to sort of pay for that sort of ongoing long-term maintenance, not just for 2-5 years, but after that, when the trees really do get big and the roots start to cause damage at the concrete sidewalk.
I'll take a crack at it. In maintenance, I know I was in maintenance for a long time, and tree roots were an issue, and whether or not we want to add trees or not add trees. The county has worked with our environmental folks that know about these trees, and they've prepared a county approved tree list. So these trees supposedly have been looked at and chosen due to the size of the roots, and hopefully they don't get that big and they don't drop acorns so people step on them and twist their ankles and things like that. So I know a lot of thought has been put into what type of trees we will put out from now on. A lot of the older trees that exist, the bigger ones, that they're probably not part of the tree list now, but we're kind of stuck with those and maintaining those. And our hopes are in planting these trees that are on the approved tree list, that it won't happen.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I have a couple more questions. So another one around like the bike lanes. I know that you haven't decided yet which type of bike lane to install. But my suggestion would be also to just consider like if we even have a lot of bikes coming into the community. I know that in San Pablo there was like a really big sort of redevelopment and they've incorporated like these really nice bike lanes, but unfortunately like not a lot of people really use them, at least not right now. And so it just creates like bottlenecks and a lot of traffic issues. And so again, just kind of going to the point that we also have large industry here would be really difficult to have some of these, like I've literally witnessed at least 4 trucks getting like stuck in different parts of the community because they just can't come in or they can't get out, they try to U-turn. And it just creates a lot of problems. And so I couldn't imagine like a really like a massive big rig just stuck because it got stuck on a bike lane or there was some issues because of the physical sort of limitations there. So I'm not against bike lanes. I think we should, that's sort of the future and we should consider lowering our sort of car use. But I think like really making sure that like it's something that really is going to add benefits to the community and not just doing it because the state is making it a requirement or because there's money to do it. It's like making sure that this is going to have a use and a positive impact in the community. And the third thing was around stop signs. So I know a few years ago, a few other residents met with some sort of body that came to us and was like, what are your concerns around traffic? And we said stop signs are like a really big issue where we don't have stop signs in a lot of like the streets sort of more insular and some of these even intersections, we don't simply have stop signs. And so I'm wondering if that could be like something added into the grant or if that's not within your purview. But yeah, I think stop signs has been like a really big sort of advocacy thing for the community. Or even having some kind of stop light because we don't have any of that once you get into North Richmond. And just making sure that like cars and traffic are just mitigated in a way that continues like creating community safety and pedestrian safety.
Thank you. We do like control intersections for sure.
Okay.
Ryan, we definitely work with our traffic team. They're in the same division as us. They do the stop sign warrants. So we'll look and see if they have done any recent warrants, especially in the North Richmond area, specifically around the project area. Thank you.
Yes, your turn. Yes, then you'll be the last one if we don't. We have 2 after you. We have 2 on Zoom, and then we're gonna cut it and we're gonna have them come back. Okay.
Well, I want to thank you for being here in person because it's more of a personal feeling to talk face to face. And another reason why I want to go last time.
Oh.
Well, my main concern is these bulb outs that proposed on Birdie and Garamita. My concern is we have SUVs, pickup trucks, and these bulb outs. When one vehicle is already sitting at a stop sign, it's hard. It's like driving through taking a drive-through because you guys have reduced the width of the lane so far where you really have to come within inches of almost hitting a vehicle that's at a stop sign waiting for someone to make a left or right turn. 2, the existing sidewalk that you guys changed on Fred Jackson Way. I understand pedestrian safety, but do you have to make them so wide? You almost double the size of the sidewalk on Fred Jackson Way. And you're proposing and doing that on the market. I think there would be more of a traffic congestion because I understand the Disability Act. So this was proposed way back in the early 90s where these actually bulb outs, they actually sent out, the county sent out these letters to property owners asking if it was okay if the county would purchase corner spots of every resident on the corner property in order to fulfill the disability act. They bypassed it because I still have paperwork at home. But my concern is these large bulb outs that you based off the guidance, I think it's going to be more of a problem versus a solution for pedestrian safety. Because my concern is my alternate solution would be you can install those push button walk. Those I don't know what you call it in San Pablo, where you pedestrians push them and they light up the sign and let you know there's a pedestrian as you want to cross the street. Versus install these large bulb outs to help pedestrian safety. And 2, I think, piggybacking off of what she said, I think it should be a community meeting in regards to seeing it, in regards to these bike lanes, because piggybacking off of both of them, there's not a lot of bike traffic in North Richmond. It's not like San Pablo, not like Berkeley, not like El Cerrito. Not a lot of bike traffic, and installing bike lanes will take away from people parking, because like you said, people park in between those little reflective things, and you're sticking around, you can literally run over them with with a car. So it doesn't prevent people from parking in the lane. So again, I think it should be a 200 meeting on if more bike lines are suggested within the community of North Richmond. And in regards to Fred Jackson and Market, if you guys are gonna redo the sidewalk, piggybacking off what this lady said, the drain system. Before they redid the sidewalk on the corner of Fred Jackson and Market, we never had a flooding problem. Because the drain system, you guys, well, whoever did, they changed it. And whoever came out here did the overview on how it should be designed, they made it work. And I'm one of the people who actually had to get out there and unplug the drain because, again, before they changed the street, that corner never did flood. Now every time we get a major storm, it floods. So whoever came out and did their diagnosis before that, people my land did a hell of a job. Because I get tired of getting out there in the rain, unclogging a drain. It never used to be clogged up for over the 50 years I've been staying here and being a resident of North Richmond. And lastly, doing the whole, again, piggybacking off what Police Chief said about as far as Woodside, if you guys are going to install sidewalks out there, please install lighting because when they redid Fred Jackson Way, they put an asphalt sidewalk from the creek all the way to Brookside Drive. Nope, they ain't changing anything with the light. It's still pitch black when you walk out there. So you guys talk about improving pedestrian safety, but you come and do one thing, but you don't complete the project. And again, with these trees, I'm not a tree expert, but I'm pretty sure they have trees that can emote oxygen because I understand planting trees helps the environment. I'm pretty sure they have trees that don't shed leaves as much as the ones that's currently there. And lastly, the tree. Evergreen, I'm sorry, one more evergreen, but that's right. Yeah, lastly, the trees that it was planted, no one is maintaining those because they already started to shed leaves and no one's currently maintaining it. So please, if you're gonna plant trees, have some type of money somewhere, they will hire somebody to come out here and maintain the trees so the residents don't have to do it. That'll be written into it, so y'all make that. That's why I suggested you have a meeting because this is a lot of questions.
This is
no, it's a question and answer, so for them to absorb what it's saying, so it won't be a repeat, so they won't say we missed it, we have them to document it as we go. So it won't be a repeat and say we didn't get this done. We have 2 on Zoom, and then the last 2 is our here. Tanya?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say that from my understanding, this is the second time that this project goes for funding or something similar, especially the one on Market and like Yaramita. And there was a lot of surveys that were collected from the community. Robert Rogers assisted with that. And so that's kind of informing some of these projects. And I think part of the widening of the sidewalks from when I talked to Robert was that we're trying to avoid big trucks going down Market in the residential area, right? And I don't think the trucks are gonna stop doing it unless they learn not to do it, right? If they get stuck, they're gonna not do it again, right? So you kind of have to almost like physically put a barrier there for them to stop. And so we did do a lot of community outreach before, and always happy to do more. And thank you to Public Works for being with us tonight.
But everything being completed versus just having TNT enforce the law, which is not supposed to be trusted in the community versus
I'm so sorry because I can't hear you at all unless you're close to the mic.
No, I was saying, isn't that being complacent by remedying the problem by inconveniencing the community by making these sidewalks larger versus just having highway patrol do their job and enforce ticketing these trucks, and that will prevent the trucks from coming out of there versus inconveniencing the community with these large, oversized sidewalks. Just enforce. I'm not a person that, how would I say, puts a band-aid on the situation. I believe in enforcing the laws that we have on the books versus giving someone a pass.
I could take that, Tanya. Again, the improvements we are proposing, again, all proposed at the moment, so nothing is final. We would consider those not a band-aid. They are sort of permanent infrastructure. So the idea would be to put the infrastructure in as one part of the remedy to the issue. It's not going to solve everything. It's never going to be the case. But it should, the narrowing of the lanes is a proven countermeasure to help with these similar issues with traffic and speeding through the area. So it's one solution, but it's not the only solution. And there's going to be multiple pieces to this. So we definitely do understand the truck issue in North Richmond. It might not be the focus of this project specifically, but it is definitely a focus for the Transportation Engineering Division and especially our traffic team.
Okay, thank you. We have these two of y'all be really, we got one more presentation.
I just want to say you guys did a great job in presenting this. I think at the end of the day, getting back to the presentation itself, what is the purpose? And we have to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of this project, right? And so the purpose of this project was like to motivate people to be outdoors and have alternative ways of transportation, which is the whole point of this grant program. At the end of the day, I'd rather have North Richmond get this grant and not get it, because at the end of the day, it's going to improve the quality of life of the residents, whether we see it immediately or over time. We may have to deal with some adaptation because of the changes that it will bring, but however, long-term effect, I think that it's a great program to implement, considering the fact of how it's going to beautify the neighborhood as well. The problem, I think that I heard a lot is the concern of bike lanes, but wouldn't you want to promote more bike lanes, which is what you guys are doing? Yes, we don't have that here, and I would love to be a reflection of Berkeley. I would love it to be a reflection of San Pablo, right? I would love to grow up, I don't have kids, but I would love my kids to grow up in a neighborhood that they can go outside and ride their bike. So all to say is that I support this project. I think that you guys have done a great job, and that you guys take into consideration the comments that were made today by everyone here. Considering the drainage and all those issues, because there are those things that can be implemented at the same time with all the work that you guys have done so far. But at the end of the day, finalize the project efficiently to benefit the community at the end of the day. So with that said, I'll pass it on with my colleague.
Right. Yeah. So thanks all for the presentation. It was great. I am one of two bike riders in North Richmond. I'm just kidding, there's probably more. So I would love to be a part of that bike lane feedback loop. And then I think the drain, if there's a GIS map or something informing that decision, that would be really great to see where those, because also like when it rains, I walk out of my house and I have a pool. And a lot of people mentioned, we are cleaning the drain as residents who care about the community, but also we don't want flooding in our homes. So just also knowing that that's an important thing as you're thinking about the grant and infrastructure improvement. Thank you.
Okay. We're here in that, and thank you for coming out. And we would like to be able to come back again. And keep in mind for what was suggested, and to more or less see if things can happen. We would like things to happen.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'll be working with these two until June on this before we submit. But
great presentation.
There.
Thank you.
But again, feel free to email us.
Okay, well, here at the last 25 minutes of the hour, so we have another presentation to take place with this path to clean air, and we will present for us, please. Okay, thank you.
I'm just gonna set my next
Okay.
some notes.
Great.
Hey Tanya, how's
Hi,
it going?
Tanya.
Good to see you.
My apologies, I'm not there. I have a family thing. But happy to have you at the MAC, and I can definitely share your slides.
Great, thank you. All right. Yeah, well, while that's getting going, I will say thank you, council members, for having us here. This is my first time here. My name's Dave Severy, and a first time caller, a long time fan. But yeah, I'm a Richmond resident. I'm in Richmond over
probably Clinton. And yeah, I'm here on behalf of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, Path to Clean Air Community Steering Committee, joined by Suzanne. And then I think we might have a couple folks on Zoom. I saw Dr. Omatoso in the chat. Or if you're here, you can say what's up. And then also, I think I saw Diana Ruiz, who's representing the Air District staff. So hi, Diana. And thanks again for having us. I think like a lot of what has been talked about tonight kind of intersects with what we're about to present. It deals, we're dealing with air quality, we're dealing with like safer streets, vegetation, truck management, and how all that impacts North Richmond. So and just by way of introduction, so I like Suzanne and I were both part of this community steering committee. Like we're not, we don't work for the Air District, we're just community members. It's like a stipended role, but like, again, it's like really kind of a volunteer gig, I guess you could say. But in my day job, I work with an organization based in Oakland called Transform that does a lot of housing and transportation advocacy. That's how I got to know Daryl from CHDC. So that's we're together. And so so I'll go ahead and just go through the deck. Tom, if you want to go to the next slide. I know we're short on time here, so I'll just kind of have to go through the okay. Cool. So how this all kind of came to be, the state of California a few years ago basically looked at like what were some of the most impacted communities across the state and said like there needs to be better ways to protect people from like harmful emissions, harmful air quality. And so this area, that includes North Richmond is one of 10 communities across the state that said like there needs to be a community-led plan to reduce emissions. So that is kind of the genesis and like kind of the drive behind creating this committee. And again, so this is like a partnership with Air District staff there's support there to do that. And then we're kind of also backed up by the state with California Air Resource Support. Next slide, please. So why this area? Which again, if you can, well, for folks on Zoom, it's kind of blocked up, but you can see this includes like basically all of the Richmond city limits, like on the like west of the hills, basically, and then goes north up to basically the Pinole border, and includes some of the unincorporated areas like North Richmond, includes the entire city of San Pablo, but obviously this is a region that is impacted by pollution from a lot of different sources. Chevron being obviously the biggest one and the largest generator of emissions. So this is kind of what we call our study area. And so, go ahead and go to the next slide.
Okay, so what you said, I'm not cutting you off, but just quickly. Did we not just have a presentation waiting for AB 617? 617, because I was part of AB 617 back in 2018. And I think someone came last month.
We had planned to come in
and came through and went through, the particulars on the particulars. And I'm just trying to see what is new that you all are presenting tonight. Because someone just presented at our last meeting. Tanya?
Annie, I believe that was the EPA and DTSC, and they presented about their pilot program, which is a cumulative impact assessment, and they listed AB 617 as like a policy and initiative that they want to build on.
They're building on also. Okay.
They want to build on it, but they and that's why they listed it as like something that they're researching and looking at leveraging. But
okay, very good. Okay, what was the, I just want you to know, it's not like the same.
Yeah,
same
and
thing.
yeah, thanks for again for accommodating us. Because
Yeah,
we were
it's
trying to
not like
present.
the same. Go ahead. Okay, just, continue.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, Tanya, you can go to the next slide. So yeah, so we formed this community, led steering committee back in 2021, so about 3 years ago now. And again, these are people who work, live, or grew up in this area. There's, we have a couple of people who are representatives of the city of San Pablo. There's been representatives from the county. And then we have a couple of people who represent the industry, being like Chevron and Sims Metal, who don't have voting authority. We have a charter and a series of vision and principles to kind of guide this development. And then yeah, I will say there was a very pretty widespread effort to recruit people for this committee. I personally saw it from my city council member in Richmond who posted something on Instagram and was like, hey, I have a little bit of extra time, I can get involved with something. And we're always looking for new people to join. We have about I think 25-ish people at the moment, but when we kind of at our peak, we had space for 30, 35. So there's space for people to join. Cool. Next slide, please. And so we have, like I said, we've been at it for about 3 years. The first, kind of year and a half was really all about just forming the committee, coming up with a lot of different processes for the plans, adopting a vision and principle, and then really defining that map we just showed you. And then we moved into kind of describing what is the community, what are some of the challenges it faces around air quality and what are those concerns. We kind of learned about what the air district can offer as far as monitoring and figuring out where some of the key areas of concern are. And then we moved into developing the plan, which is looking at kind of what are the key areas of concern, what are our goals, and what are the real high level strategies. And then we're kind of right here at this next box currently at review and adoption. So our plan is kind of currently out there as we just voted on it a week ago as a committee to formally adopt the plan. It will be going to the full air district and then to the Cal Air Resources Board in a couple weeks. And then we move into implementation. So there are a lot of opportunities to get involved. So even though it feels like we're kind of at the end of something, it is kind of, we are starting this process. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So as part of understanding the community, we did a whole mapping project where people would were handed a tablet and would physically point, drop a pin on a map and say, I experienced this, and we noticed there were a lot of things around asthma and allergies and wildfire and a whole bunch of other issues related to air and poor air that were kind of mapped in this. And so that was kind of just a good visual way to capture how people in this community feel about air quality. Next slide. And then here are some really great quotes that came out of that project. A lot of mention of Chevron, a lot of mention of fires, there's mention of trains. So some just really powerful anecdotes here that really just kind of give a lot of texture to this work. Next slide. And so we basically honed in on 5 different big areas of concern. So fuel refining, again, being the biggest with Chevron, but mobile sources, so what we think of as everything from trucks to cars, and then there's a whole area of concern around marine traffic and rail, as well as construction and some of the big bigger drivers of like particulate matter, and then wildfires is obviously. Okay, next slide. Cool. And then so lastly, before we kind of get into the solutions, we wanted to just like kind of pull out like what are some of the biggest harms of poor air, and then also to kind of look at like some of the more like people that are more susceptible and at higher risk. So obviously just like as the worst case scenario, heart attacks and strokes, but just other things that like exacerbate, other health conditions that people may have. And then want to call out, children, communities of color, people with chronic disease, the elderly, they're all like some of the more like, sensitive receptors. Next slide, please. And then lastly, folks here might not be able to see all of it, but this just kind of shows like of all the particulate matter, or what we call like PM 2.5, which is like the most like harmful actual material that makes its way into people's lungs, into your bloodstream. The biggest driver of that here is Chevron at 63%. And for folks here, like some of the smaller sources do include cars and trucks, but then things like fireplaces and water heaters are in some of the smaller slices of the pie. So very much to say the chapter of the plan that we've come up with on fuel refining is by far and away the longest, because it is, represents the lion's share of particulate matter. Next slide. Cool, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Suzanne, and problem the solutions.
So problems to solutions is one of our phrases and ideals that we used. And so the path to clean air, we did, I'll just read the slide here. We're community directed, and so we wanted to hear what the community, what their problems were. And so we did, like Dave mentioned, the 5 things that came out of it were the mobile source, strategy centered around mobile pollution, public health, marine and air, commercial and industrial, and fuel refining. And that intersects also with things like land use, urban greening, and compliance and enforcement. And so how can we create a plan that maximizes and focuses, brings these things into focus so that we can ultimately have outcomes of lower emissions and higher health. Next slide. And so, we came up with, through our process, we came up with these, I'm gonna move to this side, our goals. And our top goal here is just transition. And that is I'll just read this, a pursuit of our right to breathe clean air and promote environmental justice, ensure the well-being of our residents and workers. Our community-driven emissions reduction plan is rooted in just transition principles, and we want to seek to address the consequences of historical racial disparities and developing more stringent air pollution policies that advance social healing and restoration. And that ties into why this area was selected for the plan, because we have the highest impacts and it affects communities of color, low income, and these areas have received the highest burdens. And so they are first on the list to try to improve these things. And then the solutions come from within the community, not just from the top down. So that's what this whole plan is supporting. Health, it's about reducing health impacts. That's what's one of our plan goals. Community engagement is to continue to bring the community in, to hear the community voices. So what we are addressing is what is important to these communities. And so this is a mechanism for people to have their voices heard. And then is to really to hold the governments and the agencies who do the regulating, is to hold them accountable. So many of the strategies that are in the plan are just really piggybacking on existing legislation. How do we strengthen that? How do we make sure that what is on the books is already, is being faithfully implemented? And so that is one of the big elements
of the plan. Next slide, please. Here's some examples of some of the actions that you'll see. So the community concern, mobile freight trucks and cars. So this is very germane to what we're talking about tonight. Heavy duty truck management. So designating truck routes, creating design elements that are going to prevent trucks from entering residential areas, all that we were just talking about earlier. Investing in zero emissions, having street sweeping programs that are effective to help clear areas out, public health and reducing exposures. So expanding healthcare, maybe creating programs that will help reduce pollution in homes by filtration systems, better windows. So creating grant programs so people can have access to these types of programs. And then just for example, marine and rail, really, again, this is really going after existing legislation and updating rules to have more responsive to the reducing emissions and advocating for the state to become more stringent and support those reductions in emissions. Next slide, please. And commercial, industrial, and the community last year, looking at things, best practices for dust production, more stringent reviews of what kind of businesses will be coming in, and addressing some of these issues through permitting, if we can make changes to permitting requirements, and also more collaboration between the cities who are doing the permitting and these strategies, so having the cities look at these, considering these issues while they're granting permits, and also adding more stringent requirements to, for example, permitting, and looking at zoning issues to consider the implications for emissions. Next slide, please. Fuel refining is a thing to itself. So we're working on updating the rules, and we just had a big victory with that with Chevron, where they are going to have a big improvement in their emissions. Looking at just evaluating the different methods for reduction of the particulate matter and the health impacts, holding them to the standards. And a big one is that we hear about, people are really is looking at to reducing the flaring activity, because that's a huge issue around here with Chevron. And so we have actions within the plan that address those things. Next slide, please. Oh, keep going here. So land use, urban greening. So, using plants, these are just samples, but, using different ways that we can help reduce particulate matter and things coming through. So plant buffers, how, again, filtration systems in homes, and compliance and enforcement. So working to develop outreach and education. So so people know about that these things are affecting them, and so that they can effectively make their voices heard to their communities and their government agents, governing bodies, because one big thing of it is important to have people educated, because if you don't know about these impacts, you don't know to demand the improvements. So a huge part of our plan is to go and create this outreach and to help, educate the public, and so that they can better advocate for themselves. And then, investigating and targeting facilities of concern. So when the community is saying, hey, this place is, I smell the smell all the time, and so call the hotline, and having follow through when people feel like they're being heard, and just having the back and forth of, updating the community about what is happening and what they can do to improve and make an impact on their air quality. Next slide, please. And so here, what we really want is people to get involved. And so, as Dave was mentioning, we are a community steering committee, and we will have seats available on the committee while the plan was being developed, we have a few more steps before it's finally approved. We chose not to bring any new members in at that time because we're right at the tail end of the process, but we are getting close to that. So now we are actively seeking new members from the community to join our steering committee. It is a stipended activity, so you do receive some financial compensation also. So it's sort of a hybrid between volunteer and paid position. Read the plan, look at it. It's a 200-ish page plan, so it's pretty dense, but it's laid out very well. Like, if you're interested in fuel refining, you can go to the fuel refining section and look at that. You can go and you can sort of dig in. And so there's what the plan is, and then it's indexed. Here's all the actions that we are suggesting that support this goal of the plan. You know, the steering committee meets the fourth Monday of every week. So you can join the steering committee, or you can just come in on Zoom and join our meetings. We have public comment. The meetings are public, and we always welcome people to come and join us, comments. Again, join the committee. Subscribe from the Path to Clean Air email list, which is part of the Bay Area Air Quality Management website. So you get updates about things that are happening, events, the meetings. Follow the Air District on social media. And then finally, the next slide, please. Let's see. So 2 things specifically. So our next meeting will be on March 25th. So you can come in and join us and just sort of see how it's working procedurally. And then we are going to have an in-person meeting, which is, we would love to have the community join us. This is going to be at 5:30 p.m. on April 22nd at the City of San Pablo City Hall. There'll be information on the website, but this is going to be for the Community Health and Justice meeting. So this is a board that will hear the plan, and they will be approving the plan. So this will be a time to come out, show your support, ask questions, but we are looking for bodies in the seats, you know, to really demonstrate to this board that the community is behind this plan. And so we really do encourage people to come and join us specifically for this meeting. And all this information is on the website. And if you join the list, they'll shoot it right to your email. And I guess that's our last slide. And then questions, please hear what you want to know.
Real quick, I have a couple.
Yes, please.
Clarification, but let's hear you all. Let's make it, you know, let's don't draw it out. Yeah.
Good.
Mine's more of a, I think what you guys are doing is awesome. And about the windows and the air filtration system, do you guys have a company that you can suggest to residents? Because I was actually looking into windows recently, and they were super expensive, and it kind of made me, you know, deflated me a little bit, because they're hard to, they're expensive to buy.
Yeah.
And the filtration, like all that stuff would be nice, and it'd be nice to be part of the organization to show up to all the stuff. But do you have companies that we can go to that have our windows big replaced, or filtration system that is affordable to? Because when you do see the smoke, you know, we call our neighbors and say, hey, close your windows, it smells weird. But is there any companies you can suggest?
I wouldn't be able to recommend any, but I would assume that the Air District has resources about that, and then possibly rebates. But yeah, I think it's not really something that we're trying to, like, you know, kind of encourage at like a lifestyle level. It's like we're looking at kind of like.
But then we get to get something called the China weather program. Yeah. So this is just a weather IDation program. They have grants to work with you for purchasing windows, weather stripping, efficient, appliances and the whole bit. So it's kind of cost. Yeah, they have that.
Yeah, it's been combination. They don't provide answers. They provide, like, you have a wood window, they provide assistance to low income families.
Right.
To install double pane windows, but as far as the actual filtration system, that's not.
No, but they do offset some of the cost.
Right. Yeah.
That's another thing I want to clarify. So wait a minute, it was two other, again, I don't want y'all to get long-winded because okay, I'm sorry.
One question, does this organization have any type of power for the total fine on such companies like them? Because Chevron is using their technology. And everybody knows Chevron's lines of pockets of certain politicians. They get fined, nothing comes about from it because there's missed anything. We had EP here at the last meeting. Yeah. And since then, there's been, I believe it's been 4 or 5 clear incidents at Chevron. So my thing is, does this organization have any power to impose fines on such situations like that?
In fact, it does, because our partner is the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, and overall is CARB, California Air Resources Board, and they are the regulatory agencies who are in charge of these programs. So they are our partner and sponsor for this, and so ultimately they are responsible for enforcing the rules that are already on the books, and then also as we develop and hearing the public and hopefully responding for the demand for even more stringent regulations. And so it's not just us community saying we want these things, we are working as a partner with the regulatory agencies.
And then I would also.
We've been offering these programs for winterization for your home, but my thing is, if they just enforce the rules, we wouldn't need to worry about winterizing property too. And one thing is just hey, if you do certain things doesn't follow your income doesn't follow within that window, you're out here.
Yeah, and then one of the things that I think is probably more strong than some of the other plans across the state is that there is an entire strategy within the fuel refining chapter that like talks about like taking like when there are fines levied, like making sure that that money is like decided how it gets reinvested, and that those decisions are made by communities. Like that is something that is not happening in any of the other districts. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, thank you for the presentation about your work. Like I think that this part of where we live, it's very affected already. The hair is very affected. My family, you know, all of us, we either have allergies or asthma. And I think with the bloom that we have seen with the big trucks, I don't know what it's gonna be, you know, in a couple more years. So I mean, it really, you're looking into someone that it could be like checking if those businesses are really working just to know it. I believe they have to have like a certain they have not overworking or having extra parts or extra stuff there that it will affect more the air. Would there be like somebody checking on them?
Yeah, I think that's all part of like so one of the co-authors of like the mobile sources strategy like looked at like a truck management plan and like dealt with a lot of truck attracting businesses. The person who's no longer on the committee, I think came to a lot of these meetings. His name is Francisco Avila. And yeah, he worked a lot with like the community in North Richmond to find out like, yeah, what are those kind of magnet sources for emissions? And then like, what are where's the teeth? Like, where is the compliance and enforcement mechanisms? And a lot of that is spelled out at this point.
Same thing as well, you know, with the smell that we have. I mean, I think back to Miss Annie told me like after years and years, I was wondering, what is it smell? We have curiosity. I think I've been calling and making the complaint and make the complaint.
And I really want to see like something happen, you know, like they, I hope they can go like less instead of more often. I will see them maybe because then otherwise I keep calling and I keep, you know, talking to them and I just don't see not like that much of, you know, progress.
Who are you calling?
The
district. Okay.
Yeah. So and I think another thing that we have to let all the community know about this. You know, like share with the community, like really push for those things to be reported because I think that's the only way that we can, you know, make it more.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, those types of strategies are included in this plan. And that's why a big part of it is community outreach. And so that we can help people know who do we call. And so they feel heard and there's actually someone responding to those complaints. And so, I mean, that's just one component. But we hear that. And so that was really one of the, like I said, the plan is really a collection of strategies to look at these problems. And then there are these sort of solutions that we are looking to them. And some of them are regulatory, some of them are just a public awareness. And when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, they all have like, here's what we want to do, here's what we expect the outcome to be, here's what our projected timeline is, what we would like to see, what the potential obstacles are. And so, like I said, it's a very dense document. It has a ton of information. And so I really encourage people to, if this is your interest, to kind of pull it up on the website and look at the index and break out and look at some of these solutions and see like where your concerns dovetail with what is in this plan. And it's a roadmap, 10-year plan, I think it's on sort of a 10-year cycle, and the different actions that are outlined in the plan. It's very detailed. So it's not just like, oh, let's just do this. It says, we're going to do this. We're going to monitor, we're going to come back and give you an update on this in X amount of time. Here's what we think the obstacles will be. Here's going to be what we consider the measure of success. And so it's not just like reading a little fairy tale. I mean, it's a very detailed document, but it is an amazing roadmap for us to use. And I just will come back and stress again, the thing that is unique about it is completely community written. So the people who develop this plan are your neighbors, are the people who live in the community, and it is what this community wants to see happen and what we are asking for in terms of accountability and what we want to see. And then the state, you know, AB 617.
Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going and we got
okay.
Yeah. I'm not being fruitful. We gotta cut it and we gotta one a little.
All right, yeah.
You know,
Yes, I totally appreciate that. I just wanted to say so please do, and you know, come to our meetings and you can ask questions during the public comments. Yeah.
Okay, so who's on the board that this is going to be presented to? We haven't had very good partners. I don't think that the DCP and the county planning, I don't think they've been very good partners to run Richmond. So who is going to be on this board that you're presenting this plan to?
Well, so the Community Health and Environmental Justice Committee meeting in April, that's so John Joya is a representative of that committee, and he's been someone who's showed up to a bunch of our meetings and has just been kind of kept in the loop about this plan the whole time. It's representatives across the 9-county Bay Area, so I don't have all of them at my fingertips right now, but they are making a special trip to San Pablo to be in person to hear those concerns in the folks.
So
April 22nd.
To go because we still have the community reports that has to report out. So since we don't have anyone else, Tanya, do you have anybody who wants to make a comment quickly, because we have to extend.
No, I don't see anyone on Zoom.
So
raise hands.
Okay, so we have two quick.
Oh, okay. Now I do see a raised hand, Diana.
Oh yeah.
I tell you, this is everybody in agreement because 7:30 we'll be out of here, period. Don't get me about 7:30, so make it very quick, make it, make it very clear, if it's something that can be directed to the website, please direct them to the website and not to expound and so on and on for the next 30 minutes. Okay, Tanya, go ahead. You had someone.
Yeah, Diana, do you still want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know everyone, it's that hour. So I just want to say I dropped 2 links and maybe Tanya can just add them to your notes, and our CHA, Community Equity, Health and Justice Board Committee. And you can just see the representatives that are on there. And also, I also dropped a link to, regarding Bay Area healthy homes to see if the person who was interested in weatherization qualifies. But so that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diana.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a section in the draft plan on landfills?
Landfills.
Yeah.
I believe so, but Diana, do you have can you weigh in?
Yes, there is actually a reference on landfills. And I can also put that information in this chat, just to kind of direct you to the exact page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so just real quickly, want to comment. I have two comments. One comment is for you all to expand and let us know. You all come to us for North Richmond, speaking of North Richmond, but from looking at this is expanded more into the Bay Area, correct? This is the Bay Area.
This plan is specifically Richmond, North Richmond, San Pablo. So it is a very prescribed area, and the plans, all the actions are tailored specifically for our plan zone, which includes Richmond, North Richmond, San Pablo.
Okay, and the reason why I'm saying this, you speak of fireplace. We have fireplaces out here in North Richmond. And if they are, they don't. You don't use. Okay, that's one of the.
That's not the case in other parts.
You don't. That's out. Fireplaces is out. I'm looking at, So that's really, that's been thrown out. Here, it depends on that. All heaters or whatever that's burning clear, clean. Okay. So I was looking at that percentage. That's 19%. That's kind of a little off. So that needs to be more or less looked at and removed. The other thing is, real quickly, we're looking at the demographics here in North Richmond. The demographics, we keep saying, and I had talked to Supervisor Joya about this, for keeping alluding to everybody that's sort low income. No, everybody is not totally low income. If you look at the buildings, if you look at what has been in place for the last 20 years, it is not called low income. Okay. We have diversity, it's a mixture. So it's not like 90% everybody is low enough. It don't run like that. We have the park estates, we have all these other homes, we have all these other homes built, and we have income and revenues that are here. Okay. So that's another thing you look at when you start at the equation of this. The other thing for Marina area, North Richmond, we don't have a fair, we don't have a fair, we don't have a port. Okay, so that's why I asked you what is the location, and it's just found at San Pablo, and it's sure the city of Richmond has the ferry and it has but it doesn't have it here. So I just wanted to make those, I just wanted to make those points.
And then, last thing, we want more involvement, and like having voices from specifically in North Richmond has definitely been an area of growth for this committee. So again, we would encourage folks.
Right, that's what we worked on for 30 years. Okay, so thank you all so very much. It's good like to come back again, okay? We'll live down with you all first, so they're going to get Yeah, so let's get y'all some for a second. Now let's get to our report. Tanya? Hello?
I'm here. Yes, let's go down the list really quickly. First, we have the City of Richmond Community Services Department. I think I see Jessica, but I don't.
Okay.
She's not saying anything. Okay, so we'll move, and Jessica, feel free to say something later. Then we have Shrewsbury Neighborhood Council. I don't see Marina. Then we have Housing Authority.
Good evening, everybody. This is Tony Yusufari, Special Assistant with the Housing Authority. Wanted to just give you an update on where things are with our Los Deltas development. As you know, we got HUD approval to proceed with the below market rate sales back on January 30th. And we've been working with our lawyers to finalize a purchase and sale agreement that we can then have all buyers sign and get into escrow and close those deals so they could start rehabbing those units. At the same time, we're also working on a purchase and sale agreement for the market rate units. And as soon as that's ready, we will start notifying the community that those units are going up for sale. We'll be working with a realtor directly for that. We've also been working with a number of lenders to find some sort of solutions that will help anyone that's interested in buying one of these sites with the funding needed to actually do the construction. A lot of these units need a lot of work. And because of that, most commercial or traditional lending entities won't work. So you can't just get a mortgage and start, being an owner on the property when it won't pass inspection. So there's got to be work done on the unit, and then you can always convert the money, any money borrowed to do the work, into a traditional conventional loan. So we've been working with a couple of lenders. We have, we've identified one tool, like it's called a 203K loan that provides rehab money for this type of purchase. So we'll keep working with them and bring back some information when we know it. We do have a meeting scheduled on April 16th with the 4 developers who bought the below market units to kind of continue to have the discussion about how we roll all this out, not only for them, but also for any potential buyers in the future. The other thing we should mention is that we're working with a number of different parties to finalize the request for proposals on the main campus. And this one's going to be a lot more complicated than the scattered site sales, but it will, give developers an opportunity to submit proposals that they can then, we can review and decide what would work best on the site. We hope to bring those options to the MAC so you can also weigh in on what you think would be best suited for the community. And lastly, I do want to mention that we've drafted up a questionnaire for any community organizations who may be interested in partnering with a developer that might be submitting a proposal for the main campus. And those questionnaires are going to go out probably either tomorrow or the next couple of days. So keep an eye out for those. If you have a group that is interested in just a small component of the main campus that you want to be considered, or developers can review your proposal and then reach out to you directly if they're interested in incorporating that into their proposals. This is an opportunity to be part of that dialogue. One more thing. We've been working for the last few months now on a new North Richmond MOU We're not quite ready to bring it to the MAC to have a intelligent conversation about it yet. But once we get there, we will be bringing it out, having a formal presentation on what it's about, what's included, and what we expect to get out of it. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
I see Keith, and can you please come to the speaker? It makes such a big difference.
Yep, thank you.
Closer to the TV, please. I know.
Quick question, am I to understand that in regards to all of these properties with housing authority, none of them have been purchased? Because I believe you said at a previous meeting that some have been purchased by nonprofits, the one that was going for $1. So I'm just trying to get a clarification. So is all these properties still available for anyone?
No, so you are correct. We sold 17 properties at below market rate. That included one that was actually at market rate, but averaged out to be a below market rate that will have a restriction. There are 26 buildings that are left, and I believe all but one of those are duplexes, and one of them is a single family dwelling. Those will be sold at whatever market value they are. So we'll have an appraisal done, and whatever that number comes out to be, that'll be the sales price. So those will be, and again, if you haven't put your name on an outreach list, be sure to reach out to me so we can add you to that, so that when we're ready to start marketing those, we'll literally send you an email, let you know that's happening.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Next is Supervisor Joya's office. So I just some quick updates. Supervisor Joya did interview people for the vacancy for the North Richmond MAC. As you all are aware, Marta Nieto, who kind of took the Verdi seat. It used to be a Chevron seat, and then it turned into a Verdi school seat. And so Supervisor Joya interviewed 2 candidates, and he picked a parent teacher leader, a PTA leader at Verdi School. Her name is Glory. She came to the MAC, I believe, last month. And I'm gonna put the board order, and hopefully she'll join us next month as the Verdi representative on the North Richmond MAC. And in regards to the street sweeping, I'm still following up on that. And the county did do an assessment, and they said that they are fixing the existing signs, and that they're looking at installing new ones where it's needed. And I asked them if they can come present, this like in the next couple of months. So I expect them to come to the MAC and just kind of give you all more detail about, how do they contract, what how much do they spend, like a lot of the questions that have been asked by the public, kind of get those in a presentation to all of you. So those are my 2 big updates. And then the next person is CHCC.
All right, I'll try to be quick. CHDC will be having a ceremony to dedicate to one of our Growing Wiser members, our beautiful garden that's outside here at the center, March 21st from 10 to 12. It's in honor of Mother Moore, so the garden will be called Mother Moore's Garden of Prayer. So that'll be on March 21st from 10 to 12.
Could you say why? She's 102 years old.
No problem. I'm glad you said it. And also mitigation. Mitigation's right next, right, Tanya? So mitigation-wise, I want to report on our task force walk last month. We decided to walk the Wildcat Creek. During that time, Jose Avila, who's over health, environmental health, was doing a cleanup at the Wildcat Creek. They took out, him and his team wore hazmat suits. They took out over 22 truckloads of trash, tires, hazardous waste. It looked like no one was paying attention to that area for a long time. Wildcat Creek, yes, where we intersect with the train. So right in that area right there, we had a huge unhoused population there that has taken refuge there, and the trash had really got out of control. Yes, yeah, yeah. So they went through a lot cleaning that area up. So we kind of focused on that area to just kind of see what was going on. Also, just to add on to that, I have the Earth Day event coming up, and that's on April 20th next month. And the focus always is cleaned up Wildcat Creek, so that was one reason why we focused on that area, to just kind of get an idea of what we were walking into. And it was really eye-opening. I know Lucas came from Urban Tilt, so we had different groups there just to kind of take a look. And normally we don't go that far down towards that part of the creek, but it was a ton of trash. 22 truckloads at $600 a pop, so that's a lot of money. So we just kind of had a quick conversation about who's supposed to be watching over that area, you know, because it shouldn't have never got that bad. So we're trying to put together a meeting with some of the agencies to talk about that. Verde School, the back area right behind. Yes, it was bad. So to move on, Republic Sanitary Service is doing a great job. They reported last month 584 occurrences of just dumping or trash on the street. So they're still doing a great job just addressing a lot of issues. I normally go out after they get done with their patrol. And on my patrol, I've seen a 33.6% decrease from my previous month, from 140 down to 93. So on my patrols, what I'm seeing a lot of, and I think it's probably the same force RSS, is that they're saying, I'm seeing about 53% trash, 19% furniture, and I think furniture has went up due to tax season. I know a lot of times dealing with maintenance when I did, during tax season, we see a lot more furniture getting dumped, people buying new furniture, things of that nature. So furniture has increased past month. Tires make up 14%, and oil and paints make up about 11% of all the trash that's out there. Lastly, North Richmond Green newsletter will be coming out this month. So that's what you guys have there. Basically just talking about, you know, that you could be fined for illegal dumping. We have resources in here. We have also put recycle more in here. You can scan that barcode and it will take you to their page. And if you don't know what to do with a certain household item, you can type it in and it'll tell you exactly what you can do with that household item or where to go dump it at also. So just trying to give resources out to the community so that way people know what to do with certain household items. Also, I just want to encourage everybody to attend our meetings. My name and email address is on the paperwork. So we have our North Richmond Green meeting every second Wednesday of the month. We also have our task force walk every third Thursday of the month. So we encourage residents to get involved with these walks. If we walk with county code enforcement, city code enforcement, the sheriff's department, different groups join us at different times. So I would invite you guys to be a part of that.
So that's tomorrow,
9:30? Yeah. 9:30, yeah. At the resource center.
And then if you go to this, so you're saying it's gonna be, we're cleaning up that creek?
So we have a couple of projects. We have a couple of projects going on. One is the restoration of the creek. They also will do a little bit of cleanup on Fred Jackson Way, also by this area. And then they're gonna have the watershed project will also have a garden, a whole plant. And I believe that's going to be actually in a couple areas. We'll do a couple of areas. So we're actually in the process of planning the event, but we'll have petting zoo there for kids. We'll have a bounce house there for kids. We'll also have a pony ride for kids and, you know, music, DJ. So we want to bring the community out to the, to Shield Reed. And we want them to participate, but they may not, but that's okay. We want them to at least come out and be a part of it. Yeah.
So, to make clarity, in the walk with you guys, I'm thinking we can come out there to work. I think just the first thing, first day, are we coming just to work? Like just
If you go on the website, if you want to volunteer, go on CHDC's website. There's a link for Earth Day, and you can go on there and sign up to volunteer with one of the groups. Yeah, so there's different projects going on, so you can sign up to work with either group. Okay. Urban Tilt is doing the Urban Tilt and Watershed Project is doing the cleanup, and then the watershed. No, not in that meeting, but I'll invite you. I'll get you information. I'll invite you to the Earth Day celebration. Doing the plan. Okay.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, Richmond Land. Time to go ahead. Richmond Land.
I don't see anyone from Richmond Land. I'll ask them if they still want to be on the agenda. And then Cooperation Richmond, I don't see Princess. And then for Urban Tilth, I don't know if Latifa wants to say a couple of words.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know about the fruit tree giveaway. The annual fruit tree giveaway is Saturday. We'll be at Verde for from 10 to 12. So if you're looking, yeah, come out and get whatever fruit tree. And have you all been by? Do you all know where the farm is? 323 Brookside. Yeah, so you see the buildings coming up, right? So we're in phase 2, and so by the end of the year, the walk-in ready buildings will be the greenhouse, the shade house, the watershed classroom. So really looking forward to that, and we have the earth builders coming out. They're going to provide the timber for the frames for the watershed classroom. So really excited about that. Of course, being North Richmond resident, I'm really excited about the other phases where we'll have the cafe and the community room and the amphitheater, but you know, we're making progress. So. Thank you.
Very good, y'all. Thank you for everybody's patience with staying on for this additional time. This is a very good meeting. Thank you for your persistence. I've been a lot of meetings today, but thank you so much. Thank you, Tanya, for your participation rather than Zoom for, okay?
Of course. No, thank you for such a great meeting. I really appreciated today's meeting. A lot of great feedback.
Thank you all the participants on Zoom. At this time, we are adjourning the meeting, and we'll see you April the 2nd next month. Okay.
Can we ask no why she's not at Richmond Land anymore? Yeah, why not Richmond Land? I felt like the organization goals were not aligned with the community. They were listening to the community. So and there were really horrible dynamics that I had to step away from. I didn't feel support. Thank you.
All right. So thank you. Right, y'all better start bringing some people in here.